There is a war going on, and not out there. No bombs, no sirens. The battlefield is inside of you. It's quiet, cruel, and constant. Every day something tries to tell you you're less brilliant, less worthy, less needed. But I came here to pull the lie by its roots and tell you the truth you've buried under fear. Act as if you are the best, because you are. And not a soul, not one breath-bearing being is better than you. Don't mistake this for arrogance. This is reclamation of your voice, your power, your space. This speech is not a lesson, it's a mirror. And if you dare to watch until the end, I promise, you'll remember what it feels like to stand tall in your own name. You'll leave walking differently, living differently. You were born worthy before you achieved a thing, before the applause, before the recognition, before the medals, degrees, and the handshakes of the proud, before any man or woman looked at you with admiration, before any paycheck or title stood next to your name. You were already enough, already whole, already drenched in purpose. You came into this world with no resume, no status, no skill, and yet you were divine from the first breath. What gave you value was not what you did, but who you were. You were not sent here to prove your worth. You were sent here to express it. That's the first lie the world will tell you, that you must earn your place, that love must be deserved, that approval must be bought, that belonging is for the polished, the perfect, the proven. And so we go scrambling, bleeding, stretching ourselves thin to be liked, to be picked, to be applauded. We become masters of performance. But let me tell you this, performance is a mask, and when the curtain drops, you're still you, and you, without the decoration, without the credentials, without the choreography, are worthy. Can you feel that? The power of it? The freedom of knowing that you don't have to chase your worth anymore. You only need to stop running from it. The moment you were formed, before you ever took your first step or spoke your first word, your presence was already a miracle. Cells multiplied with purpose, breath-filled tiny lungs that never asked permission to exist. Your heart began to beat not for approval, but because life said yes to you. This means something. This means everything. That you did not begin as a mistake. You began as a masterpiece. But oh, how quickly the world forgets. And worse, how it teaches you to forget. They put you in systems that teach comparison, grades to divide you, beauty standards to shrink you, status to confuse you. They try to rank souls as if the sacred can be measured. They tell you to hustle, to rise, to prove. And somewhere along the way, you begin to believe that your worth has a price tag, that you are only as good as your last achievement, your last win, your last nod from someone who doesn't even see the full fire in your eyes. But child, let me tell you something they forgot to mention. The gold was in you before you ever learned to dig. You are not a product. You are not a project. You are not an algorithm's output. You are a soul. You are breath wrapped in bone, with a mind that dreams and a heart that aches and a spirit that refuses to quit. You carry history, legacy. You are a walking poem written in the handwriting of God. You don't need a stage to be valuable. You don't need a spotlight to shine. And if the world never claps for you, if they never write your name in lights, if no one ever gives you a round of applause, hear me when I say you still matter. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you are. Because there's a difference between doing great things and being great. The world loves the first, but the second. The second comes from a quiet, unshakable knowing that even on your worst day, even when you mess up, fall short, cry hard, your value hasn't moved an inch. Let that truth settle. Let it breathe in your bones. You are not a paycheck. You are not your failures. You are not the rejection letter or the missed opportunity. You are not your broken relationships. You are not what they called you when they couldn't see your light. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are here, and that is enough. It's not arrogance to know your worth. It's not pride to protect it. There is a sacred boldness in standing tall when the world wants you bent. There is power in saying, I do not need your permission to be valuable. That's not ego. That's truth. So today, before you check your inbox, before you scroll through strangers' lives, before you measure your morning by productivity or praise, pause. Breathe. Place your hand on your chest and remind yourself, I was born enough. I was born with value. I do not have to earn what was mine from the beginning. You were born worthy before you achieved a thing, and that is the foundation. Everything you build from here, every dream, every success, every triumph, is just the echo of a truth that was already spoken the moment you arrived. You were enough. You still are, and you always will be. You were not meant to hide behind layers. You were not made to shrink yourself into palatable pieces. You were not created to dress your spirit in caution just to be accepted by people who don't even know how to accept themselves. Confidence is not something you borrow, not something you fake until you make. It is something that belongs to you. Deep in your bones, buried under fear, shame, and the memory of rejection, confidence sits, patient, proud, waiting for you to remember that you are the rightful heir to it. From the moment you took your first breath, you had the right to take up space. Not because you were flawless, not because you knew everything, but because your existence was an answer to the question the universe asked the day it made you. Can the world handle another soul on fire? You don't have to build confidence like it's some skyscraper. You don't have to earn it through perfection or permission. You only need to uncover it. Strip away the costumes you've worn to survive, the mask of humility that was actually fear, the armor of silence that was actually shame, the performance of politeness that was actually suppression. Confidence is what's left when you stop pretending to be less than what you are. The world taught you otherwise, of course. It taught you to whisper your greatness, to sit down when you wanted to stand, to wait your turn, to second-guess your intuition. It dressed you up in doubt and called it humility. It told you that being bold was too loud, too much, too arrogant. But hear me now. The people who told you not to shine were afraid of their own darkness. They couldn't handle their reflection in your light. You don't have to apologize for walking into a room like you belong there. You don't have to shrink your voice so others feel tall. You don't have to dress your truth in soft tones just because your strength intimidates those who've never dared to live out loud. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them adjust. It is not your job to make your confidence digestible. It is your job to wear it like skin, something that can't be removed, something that breathes with you. Real confidence is quiet, but it is not small. It doesn't demand attention, but it refuses to go unnoticed. It lives in the way you stand, the way you look someone in the eye, the way you speak without needing validation. It's not in your clothes or your bank account or your social media followers. It's not even in your accomplishments. It's in your spirit, your knowing, that deep, immovable understanding that you have value. Not someday, not after, but now. They will tell you that confidence looks like shouting, that it looks like spotlight and swagger. But don't confuse noise with power. Don't confuse performance with presence. Confidence is often silent, still, and grounded. It's the unshakable peace in knowing that even when you fail, you don't lose your worth. Even when you fall, you're not beneath anyone. Even when you're doubted, you still believe. Confidence is the whisper in your soul that says, I am still here and I am still enough. Sometimes we forget that. We think confidence is something we have to buy, win, or be granted. We try to layer it on like makeup, practice our posture, practice our smile, rehearse our stories so we sound more powerful than we feel. But all of that is shadow work. trying to make ourselves look like something we already are, just because we're afraid to be it. You don't need to perform confidence. You need to remember it. Remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Remember the child version of you who spoke without fear, who danced without worrying who was watching, who asked for what they wanted without guilt or shame. That version of you is still alive, buried maybe, beaten down by life, but not gone. You don't need to build confidence from scratch. You need to call it back. You need to call yourself back. Say your name like it's holy. Stand like the ground is holding you on purpose. Walk like every step is a declaration. I have arrived. I am here. I will not wait to be seen. I will be seen. Confidence is not about being right. It's not about knowing it all. It's not about being the best in the room. It's about showing up without needing to prove anything. It's about knowing that your imperfections are not disqualifications, that your past doesn't discredit you, that your scars are not stains. They are badges of survival, and surviving in this world is its own kind of glory. Let no one steal your confidence, not the critic, not the silence, not the system that says you must wait your turn. You are not standing in a line. You are standing in your light. And when you stand fully in it, without apology or performance, you give others the courage to do the same. You become a mirror, reflecting back their own buried power. So stop waiting for someone to crown you. You were born with the crown. The moment you entered this life, messy and magnificent, that was your coronation. Everything else is a remembering, a return. You don't have to fake it. You just have to claim it. This life, this wild spinning dance of experience is not simply happening to you. It is responding to you. It is listening. It is watching. It is shaping itself around the way you see yourself. Every step you take, every word you speak, every belief you carry, they become blueprints for how the world treats you. You are not just a participant here. You are a mirror maker. You are the signal, and the world is the echo. You wake up and carry yourself like you don't matter, and the world will treat you accordingly. Walk into a room like you don't belong, and that space will push you to the corner. Speak as if your words are disposable, and people will toss them aside. But walk in like you are worthy, like your feet deserve to touch the floor, like your voice has weight, like your presence has power. And watch how the world shifts to make room. You are the message. You are the tone. Before you open your mouth, your energy speaks. Your presence speaks. What you believe about yourself, others begin to believe too. If you project doubt, people will question you. If you project fear, people will overlook you. But if you project power, not arrogance, not noise, but true power rooted in self-knowing, the world will lean in. Because confidence is contagious, and people want to be close to those who remind them of their own strength. It doesn't mean you have to be loud. It doesn't mean you have to take up every inch of space. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers and still commands the room. But whatever you do, do it from truth, from wholeness, from a place that says, I am not trying to be, I already am. That energy creates the atmosphere around you. That mindset becomes your magnet. So many of us walk around with invisible signs hanging around our necks. Not good enough? Don't look at me? Please like me? I'm sorry I exist. And we wonder why people treat us like background characters in our own lives. But the world cannot offer you more than you demand from it. It cannot respect you more than you respect yourself. That's not cruelty, that's alignment. If you walk through life waiting for someone else to give you permission, you will be waiting forever. Because the world does not reward hesitation, it rewards conviction, not perfection, conviction. The willingness to say, I may not have it all figured out, but I know I deserve to be here. That alone changes the air around you. You have to show people how to treat you, not by begging, not by explaining, but by being. Be what you know you are. Carry yourself like you know your own value, and watch how others begin to match that frequency. Walk into that meeting, that relationship, that dream, and project the truth. I am not less than anyone here. I am not trying to measure up. I bring something unique, something whole, something sacred. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe you deserve. The world is not measuring your worth. You are. And it is reflecting that image back to you, not to punish you, but to wake you up, to remind you that every time you second guess yourself, you give the world permission to do the same. Every time you dim your light, you invite others to overlook you. But every time you stand in your fullness, you give others no choice but to take notice. Even the smallest shift in what you project can change everything. Straighten your back. Lift your chin, speak your name clearly, make eye contact. Not because you're trying to be someone else, but because you're finally stepping into who you really are. Let your presence say, I am here, and I am not asking for validation. Let people adjust to your truth, because when you project worth, you invite respect. When you project confidence, you invite opportunity. When you project love, real, grounded, unconditional love for yourself, the world starts to offer love back. That's not magic. That's reflection. You have more power than you realize. Not power over others, but power within. Power to shape your reality by shifting what you radiate. You want more love? Be love. You want respect? Respect yourself. You want success? Project readiness. You want peace? Project stillness. This world is not deaf. It hears the way you speak about yourself when no one's around. It feels the energy you send out in silence. And it responds, it bends, it echoes, it molds itself to match your message. So what are you projecting? Because whatever it is, the world is watching, and it is listening. You were never meant to be measured against anyone else. You were not born to compete in someone else's lane, to chase someone else's timeline, to match someone else's rhythm. You are a story all your own, a language the world has never heard before, and yet you spend your days translating yourself into the dialect of others. And what does it bring you? Restlessness, insecurity, the nagging ache that says, you're behind, you're not enough, look at them, be like that. But you were not built for imitation. You were built for impact, and comparison will always kill that. The moment you look at someone else and decide they are ahead of you, better than you, more deserving than you diminish your own crown. You hand your power over, piece by piece, to an illusion. Because that's all comparison is, a lie wrapped in fear. You see the highlight, the surface, the polish, but you do not see the pain. You do not see the process. You do not see the nights they cried or the years they questioned themselves. You only see the shine and you forget the shaping. You see the fruit and forget the root. Kings and queens are not made on stages. They are forged in silence, in struggle, in solitude. And when they finally rise, others forget the climb. So you, looking at their mountaintop from your valley, start to feel small. You start to think your journey doesn't matter. But how dare you dishonor your own process like that? How dare you measure your becoming against someone else's arrival? Your crown is your own. Your path is your own. You do not need to walk faster, louder, or more like someone else to be great. You need to walk true, because when you chase someone else's path, even if you reach the end of it, you'll find it empty. Not because it isn't good, but because it isn't yours. Comparison is seductive because it feels productive. It feels like motivation. It whispers, if you just do what they do, you'll be like them. But here's the truth. You can copy their steps, their style, their strategy, and still feel hollow. because what works for them may not be meant for you. Your magic does not live in mimicry. It lives in your difference, in your strangeness, in the thing that no one else can replicate because it was carved into you alone. There is no joy in running a race that isn't yours, no peace in wearing someone else's armor, and no power in becoming a shadow when you were born to stand in the sun. The world does not need another version of them. It needs the full, raw, glorious version of you, flawed and fiery, whole and human. But comparison makes you forget. It poisons your perspective. It turns friends into threats and turns your dreams into burdens. It's why so many gifted people never bloom. They stare so long at someone else's garden, they forget to water their own. You must stop planting seeds of doubt in soil meant for greatness. You must stop counting someone else's blessings and calling it bad luck that they aren't yours. You have no idea what's growing beneath your surface, no idea what's about to bloom in the parts of you you've nearly given up on. But it won't grow in envy. It won't flourish in bitterness. You must love your journey enough to stop comparing it. It's hard, yes, because we live in a world that celebrates performance, that curates perfection, that filters failure out of view. We are fed the image of success without its cost. And so we assume everyone else is ahead, that we're too late, that we've missed something. But you haven't missed anything that was meant for you. Not one thing, and what's yours will not be given to someone else, no matter how loudly you applaud them or secretly resent them. Kings and queens, remember, your value is not measured by how you compare. Your worth is not weighed by how you stack up. Your power cannot be ranked. It can only be realized, and it will be when you stop looking sideways and start looking inward. You were never in competition, not with her, not with him, not with them. Your only task is to be more you today than you were yesterday, to rise in your own name, to build your own throne, because there is room, there is time, there is enough for all of us to shine, but only if we stop dimming ourselves by staring at someone else's light. It doesn't arrive as a stranger. It doesn't knock loudly on your door and announce itself in some unfamiliar voice. No, fear is clever. It whispers. It mimics your tone. It borrows your thoughts. It wears your voice like a costume and says things only you would believe. That's what makes it so convincing. It speaks in first person. I'm not ready. What if I fail? They'll laugh at me. I'm not enough. And because it sounds like you think it is you. But it's not. It's an intruder dressed in your skin, and it came not to protect you, but to keep you small. Fear was never meant to guide you. It was built to warn you of danger, not to dictate your destiny. But somewhere along the way, we gave it a seat at the table. We started listening to its warnings like wisdom. We started mistaking its voice for truth. And so every time we dreamed a little bigger, stepped a little further, reached a little higher, fear stepped in, arms folded, shaking its head. It told us to be careful, to stay quiet, to stay hidden. And we listened. But you must understand this. Fear has one job, and it does it well. Its job is to keep you the same, safe, predictable, small. That's how it survives, by stopping you from growing. Because growth means change, and change threatens fear. So it clings to the familiar. It tells you that comfort is king. It reminds you of every past failure, every painful memory, every wound that hasn't fully healed. Not to protect you, but to paralyze you. And it would rather see you miserable and stuck than risk you stepping into your full power. Because your power is dangerous to fear. Your power is revolutionary. It breaks patterns. It reclaims stories. It silences lies. If you ever stepped into the truth of who you are, truly, boldly, without apology, fear wouldn't stand a chance. So it works overtime to stop that from happening. It exaggerates the risk. It minimizes the reward. It repeats old narratives that no longer serve you. You always mess this up. People like you don't get chances like that. You'll never be good enough. And you believe it not because it's true, but because it's familiar, because you've heard it so many times, you've memorized the rhythm of your own limitations. But just because fear is familiar doesn't mean it's fact. Just because it feels true doesn't mean it is. Feelings are not always facts. Sometimes they're just echoes of old wounds. You have to learn to recognize fear's voice and call it out, not with violence, not with hate, but with truth. Because truth is fear's only antidote. When fear says, "You can't handle this," you answer, "I've handled everything that's tried to break me, and I'm still standing." When it says, "They'll laugh," you say, "Maybe they will, but I'll survive the laughter too." When it says, "You're not ready," you say, "I might not be, but I'll start anyway." Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to move forward even while fear still whispers. It's deciding that fear may ride in the car, but it doesn't get to touch the wheel. It doesn't get to navigate. It doesn't get to choose your direction. It can sit quietly in the back while you drive your life forward. You cannot wait for fear to go away before you start living. It won't. It will always be there in some form. New level, new fear, new stage, new voice. But what changes is your relationship to it. The more you act in spite of it, the quieter it becomes. The more you step forward, the smaller it seems. You start to see fear not as a threat, but as a signal, a sign that you're on the edge of something important, something sacred, something meant for you. Fear never shows up when you're doing nothing. It doesn't chase comfort, it chases calling. It flares up when you're close to breakthrough, when you're stepping into alignment, when you're becoming someone you've never been before. That's how you know you're growing. Fear starts to panic. And when fear panics, that's your cue to press on. Because here's the truth. It doesn't want you to know. You are more capable than you've let yourself believe. You are stronger than your doubts. You are wiser than your past. You are braver than the fear that borrows your voice. That voice is not you. You are the one who dreams, not the one who doubts. You are the one who dares, not the one who hesitates. You are the voice that says, "I'll do it anyway." So let fear speak. Let it say what it wants. But don't give it your name, don't give it your story, and never, ever give it your power, because it may sound like you, but it is not you. We have been taught time and time again to chase the horizon, to believe that one day, someday, will finally be enough, that after the promotion, after the glow up, after the healing, after the applause, then, and only then, we'll be worthy of pride. We're always reaching, always striving, always telling ourselves that our best is somewhere out there waiting for us to grow into it. But the truth is quieter, more defiant. Your best isn't waiting in the distance. It's not hiding in some far-off future version of you. It's not in the house you haven't bought, the partner you haven't met, the stage you haven't stood on, or the words you haven't yet spoken. Your best is already here, in your hands, in your breath, in your becoming. But it only comes alive when you decide to own it. You don't need more time to be great. You need more truth, more presence, more willingness to look at yourself and say, "This version of me right now is enough to begin, enough to matter, enough to rise." The world will try to sell you the lie of almost ready, almost healed, almost whole, and that lie will keep you hustling forever, stuck in the waiting room of your own life. But you can't wait your way into power. You walk into it. Power is claimed, not gifted, and greatness doesn't arrive with permission slips. It arrives with choice. the choice to stop shrinking, to stop apologizing for your timing, to stop explaining why you're not further along. You don't owe anyone an explanation for where you are. You only owe yourself the honesty to say, I may not have it all, but I am it all. There is no magic switch that flips when you hit some invisible benchmark. There's only the moment you decide to believe in the version of yourself that exists now. Not the one you dream about, but the one who got out of bed this morning. The one who keeps going, even with doubt clinging to their shoulders. The one who has survived every hard thing, every heartbreak, every disappointment, and still hasn't given up. That version of you is not a placeholder. That version is divine. There's something holy about finally seeing yourself clearly. Not in pieces, not in potential, but in full. Seeing your now self as just as worthy as your next self. The idea that your best is always around the corner implies that you're never quite enough. And that's a lie built to keep you striving, not thriving, built to keep you reaching instead of receiving. But your power, real, anchored power, comes when you stop running toward yourself and start standing inside yourself. Because when you stand in your current self with full conviction, you unlock a truth the world can't touch. You don't become powerful when you arrive somewhere. You become powerful when you decide to be. You decide that this voice you have now, no matter how shaky, is worth hearing. You decide that this body, this mind, this soul, however in progress, is still worthy of being seen. You decide that this life, messy and miraculous, is enough to hold beauty. You cannot wait to love yourself until you fix everything. Because if you do, the finish line will just keep moving. Every time you meet one standard, you'll invent another. Every time you arrive somewhere, you'll raise the bar again, until you're always almost there, but never home. So plant your feet, not in stagnation, but in recognition. Recognize who you are. Recognize how far you've come. Recognize that your best is not a destination, it's a declaration. It's a moment you call your power forward, not because you've reached perfection, but because you've reclaimed the truth. And the truth is, you have always had everything you needed. You don't need the world's validation to begin. You don't need the stars to align, the plan to be perfect, or the applause to be deafening. You just need the courage to meet yourself where you are, with grace, with grit, and with a fierce kind of self-belief that doesn't ask for approval. Your best is not a future version of you waiting in the wings. It's not a polished photograph. It's not a resume bullet point. It's not a dollar amount, a dress size, a viral moment, or a neatly wrapped success story. Your best is here. It's in your breath. It's in your voice. It's in your ability to choose yourself today. It's in your refusal to abandon yourself while waiting to become someone else. It's in your decision to be proud now, not later, not someday, because someday is a moving target. But now is real, now is powerful, now is yours to claim. So rise, not like someone trying to be something, but like someone who already is. Speak like your voice was carved from drums. Move like you're walking on purpose. Don't you dare shrink again. Not after this. You are not a whisper. You are the whole symphony. Act as if you are the best, because the world has waited long enough for you to believe it.